safe conditions. Union President Ansel Roger raised these allegations after TNTech sought an injunction to prevent workers from holding protests, which the court will address in a November 11th hearing. Roger stated that workers were not involved in industrial action, as TNTech claims, and that protests were conducted during personal time. Issues highlighted include long-standing lack of wage increases, safety concerns, and outdated defective vehicles, especially in Tobago. TNTech Chairman Romney Thomas denies these allegations, asserting the Commission prioritizes safety. Meanwhile, Roger insists protests will continue until TNTech addresses these workplace hazards. 2 men charged in connection with a shooting incident in St. Mary's Village, Moruga, have each been granted $85,000 bail. Jarrell Gomez, 20, and Kershawn Hamilton, 32, appeared in the South Criminal High Court on October 28th, where Master Shabiki Kazabon set the conditions requiring them to report monthly to the St. Mary's police post and stay 50 feet from the victim. The charges stem from an October 12th altercation on Pui Trace, where an argument led to a resident being shot twice. The victim, who was shot in the calf and later in the abdomen, managed to drive himself to safety. A third suspect, Cadell Riley, is also charged and previously granted bail. All 3 are scheduled to return to court in July 2025. Barataria San Juan MP Saddam Hussein is alleging political bias by state-owned TTT, claiming the station aired 6 PNM rallies in 2021 and 2022 without charge, while experiencing technical difficulties during opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissess's Diwali Nagar address on October 26. In a statement, Hussein questioned if TTT is influenced by political pressure, noting it is managed by the Office of the Prime Minister and has received $20.25 million in public funding for fiscal 2025. He argued TTT should operate impartially and urged for transparency in its political broadcasts. A night out turned deadly for 30-year-old Khadijah Hackett, who was fatally shot early Saturday outside a bar in San Fernando. Hackett, a sales clerk from Couva, was leaving the bar around 2 a.m. when gunshots rang out. She was found lying on the roadway, wounded in the head. Hackett was rushed to the San Fernando General Hospital, but despite efforts by doctors, she was pronounced dead at 5:17 a.m. Police are still investigating the motive behind the shooting, with officers from CID, CSI, and Homicide Region 3 at the scene. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Naomi Macnish. Thanks for watching.
WESN.
My mom has been shopping here for the last 15 years. So coming here with her, now I have my own family.
The variety of items, cleanliness of the place, the spaciousness.
My favorite section is household.
My husband loves the hardware section and the auto section. My favorite would be stationery.
Price Club is the low price leading supermarket in TNT.
They are the best. I would recommend Price Club to anybody.
Perfection doesn't happen by chance. Like an artist, the cook selects the main ingredient, one that is worthy of a proud cultural tradition. Trusted to enhance your creations with its richness and versatility. To create a cooking masterpiece, the secret is simple. The brand we know, the brand we trust, the brand our ancestors have been using for generations.
There is only one pure cow brand ghee. Look for the marks of authenticity.
The season of lights is bright and tasty with Royal Castle's delightful veggie burger made with a healthy and nutritious patty. It's great on its own or in a combo with one side and a 16-ounce drink. So whether it's lunch, dinner, or a snack, Royal Castle's Veggie Burger fits right in with your fasting and festivities. Happy Diwali from Royal Castle.
SM Group International Limited, your solutions partner for the latest innovations, brands and competent staff to meet your needs. We provide products and services in the following divisions: executive services, event rental and services, power and heavy equipment, construction and property management, food and beverage, aggregate and sales and distribution. Check out more on our products and services at www.smgrouptt.com. Contact us at 221-7445 or email at info@smgrouptt.com. We are SM Group International, your solutions partner.
When it comes to Pira and Laddu, I just use Chatak's Laddu and Pira Mithai Mix. It's a combination of traditional ingredients in one pack. I don't spend all that time preparing different ingredients like Ma. 3/4 of the work is done. So now I can make fresh, delicious Pira and Laddu in about 15 minutes with the convenience of Chatak's Laddu and Pira Mithai Mix. Now Ma's kitchen is a Chatak kitchen.
I just love Diwali. I put everything in place so my home is perfect for this season. And thanks to the little store, I get everything in one place. I picked up some Anand and Shankar brand wax diyas, hand-painted clay diyas, my coconut oil, cotton wicks, all my puja items, plus step-by-step guide to Diwali puja and Havan. My home will look and feel like Diwali with pretty hanging decorations, floating lights, rangolis and flowers, all from the little store. I'm all set to welcome Lakshmi Ma and all my guests. I've ordered some delicious fresh mithai in decorated boxes and bags, and got some frozen vegetarian products, spices, all my groceries and hygienic paper sohari leaves for a delectable Diwali feast. Go to the little store in Curep. They've got additional parking and they're open on Sundays. Check them on Facebook or call 663-4415.
Lighting up for Diwali just got simple with the easy-to-use Anand brand wax diyas. They're scientifically engineered to last longer, burn brighter, and keep on lighting. Anand brand wax diyas do not require any prepping or filling and has less spillage and cleanup. These diyas are recommended for outdoor use and can withstand light wind and rain. Plus, they're eco-friendly. Redeem your use cases for cash back. So put some green innovation into your Diwali celebrations with Anand brand wax diyas.
Come travel with us as we explore Diwali across the globe. Diwali is celebrated in many countries worldwide, but do you know the traditions and practices of each nation? From Guyana to Australia, WESN presents Diwali Passport.
October 9th to October 30th, with replays on October 31st.
It's Diwali Passport, a WESN exclusive.
WESN.
Over 1,000 days ago, 1,300, so we're looking at around 3 to 4 years, the Prime Minister had some interesting things to say. When we say there's a gas, when we say here today that this gas to liquids plant is a success, people may ask, what is successful about a plant that started construction in 2007 and has only now been completed in 2021? What is there to commemorate about a project that was once plagued by delays and cost overruns? Okay. The project was initially written off as a failed attempt. There was nothing to be had except permanent financial losses, finger pointing, and political grandstanding. And then now we had what I guess you could say, ironically, ended up being political grandstanding. Nikwan, the Prime Minister said, led the plant out of the junkyard and it was a project as an opportunity for the country to gain some benefit from the investment, which otherwise could not be operationalized. The government facilitated this project by sourcing and securing a supply of gas at a time when some downstream industries were saying we don't have enough. And just as a side note, also partnered with Nikwan, some local conglomerates also partnered with Nikwan to help this project along. Junior Sami Contractors Limited was also involved in those partnerships and was key in de-risking the project. That was 2021, early 2021, before the first accident. This is 2024. Nikwan Energy appoints receiver to manage and control the company's assets. Even one of the banks who was all keen on trying to save their investment was basically now saying support for liquidation if rehabilitation efforts are unsuccessful, which they seem to be because given the fact that Nikwan still owes something like US $21 million to Trinidad Upstream Downstream Company, Energy Company Limited, the middle manager, I guess you could say, for its relationship to the government of getting that supply of gas. And the government is basically saying, well, we're not supplying any more free gas because we ourselves don't really have much of a supply. That was part of the controversy to begin with. When we already had limited supply of natural gas, here comes the government saying, look, at a project, one of the most significant downstream projects from the private sector in recent times, and it's going to make something out of what otherwise would be nothing, except 3 years later, we see something worse than nothing. We see debt. Because Nikwan not being able to pay off 21 million US means that, at the end of the day, we bought the gas. So whatever we cannot collect from Nikwan's liquidation, it hasn't happened yet. And I don't know if that plant is it worth US 21 million at this point? Who knows? Maybe the government could recoup its money, maybe it can't. But I'll just say that I find it very ironic that the Prime Minister, his remarks at the opening of Nikwan was basically questioning what is successful about this plant. And unfortunately, the context by which he said that statement has proven to be false, and the question still remains. It makes me wonder if part of the reason why the project failed was in part due to the fact that the chief visionary officer, founder, whatever his title is, may have sold the government a bill of goods, $2 billion in taxes over the life of the project. may have sold the government a bill of goods that didn't come to pass. So instead of something for nothing, and instead of nothing, we have less than nothing. Congrats. It makes me wonder, and this is something I'll ask again, did anyone potentially do the due diligence? Now, to some extent, maybe wool was pulled over the government's eyes, or maybe it was just bad luck that the safety record of Nikwan ended up being what it is. But to some extent, look at Caribbean Airlines and BWIA before it. Understanding its place in the market, our local airline understood the last thing we could do is have a TWA Flight 800 incident. And so that has never happened. Luck has never been a factor. One would hope that in big deals and big investments like this, people did not necessarily leave things up to chance or try to cut corners, and we got where we got. Sometimes you could still be bad lucky even with all of the precautions. But after 2 incidents, I don't know if that's the case here. So again, it leads me to re-ask the question, was due diligence done on this project? Or was there some amount of political favoritism that allowed this project to get off the ground with a supply of gas from the government at a time when other plants were saying we don't have enough gas? Plants that were already operational. Plants that did not leave the government with a 21 million US debt. And to finish up my opening remarks, I just wanted to highlight something. There's a school that had a PTA, Penal Rock Presbyterian School. Parents met, principal said kids could wear cultural clothing for Diwali today. And then the ministry came back and said, no, they have to wear school uniforms. And then they went further to say, if they want to wear anything besides school uniforms, they have to come to school in uniform and leave school in uniform. They have to change in school. And that caused the principal to say, that is an impractical solution. Let's just not do anything. And it's left the parents upset because they have paid money to buy clothes specifically for today. And it seems as though the ministry is defaulting on policy. Well, this has to be done this way for security and identification purposes. And to that, I do wonder, to what degree is that really necessary? It's not as though there are no examples around the world of schools that do not have students not in uniform. And then the best part is, given the fact that we're not talking about jeans and a t-shirt for these kids, it might be pretty obvious who the school children are, since they'll be wearing a pretty distinct style of clothing that you're not necessarily going to see children wear during school hours on any given weekday. Now, I understand the need to adhering to policy, but then there comes a point where it seems more like a lazy excuse of either I don't want to have to deal with this or I don't know how to deal with this, so I'll just go to policy. And it's not the first time in the world something like that might have happened. But it just goes to show maybe we should question the judgment of the people who are in positions to make judgments. Because if all you're going to do is just fall back to policy, to some extent, if you're a staffer, okay, fine, okay, but up the chain of command, why are you in that chair? We're not talking about something that has strict and obvious consequences. And maybe there's something that I'm missing, because there's always a chance that it's true. There may have been some incident that happened and the risk is too great. despite the protestations of the parents. Things like that have also happened before. But a proper explanation would then be the responsible thing to do in order for people to understand, so that in the future, maybe better planning could take place, or people would be subsequently content in not being allowed to do the thing they want to do because the reasoning was explained. At the very least, the children might be children, minors, what have you. But the parents are adults. And I wonder if the teaching style, which I don't necessarily agree with, except for very young children, you're trying to treat the parents as though they're children, saying, look, we're just telling you what it is, don't question me. It's a hell of a way to run a country. Also, you need to be right more often than not, and I do question the capacity for any government body, public service body, to be right more often than not, any ministry. That's not the track record that we have, because if you're right more often than wrong, we probably won't have as much problems as we have. Now, with that said, there's some more pressing matters to get through, and of course the good lady will be coming soon. So, let's kick off today's Daily Review. All right, just want to get into one story, the big story for the morning. It's made at least one front page. So the Privy Council came back with a ruling. The wording of the ruling, I think, is especially interesting, given the fact that the government has lauded itself as the savior of the public purse. We have prevented corruption and ill-begotten contracts and frivolous lawsuits from draining public funds. All of these things that went on during the partnership, we put a stop to it with these court matters. More than once, the Prime Minister has brought this up, and maybe, I can't remember, the Minister of Finance did. Except here we have a case where the Privy Council comes back and basically said, yeah, the Court of Appeal was correct when it gave the Junior SAMI Contractors Limited default judgments, not ruled in their favor, default judgment over the state's estate management and business development company's inability to defend its case of not paying Junior SAMI contractors all the money owed. Only 7 of 13 interim payments were paid, and the state's defense was basically thrown out. There was not enough to support a proper pleading of fraud or abatement, because that's what they were trying to say, that the fraud happened and we shouldn't have to pay for it. But not just the Privy Council, the Court of Appeal said you don't have evidence for that. So Court of Appeal granted default judgment. Privy Council said that was correct. Let me remind you that the Minister of Finance said when the Court of Appeal ruled in his favor, but the Privy Council did not, he took great pains to point out the facts. I believe it was the Minister of Finance. He took great pains to point out the fact that or it could have been the AG, one or the other, our local judges are so good. So good. Their judgments are so good. You know, it was just some weird fluke that the Privy Council disagreed with them on the matter that the government lost in. But they were so good. But now I would just like to point out that the Privy Council and the Court of Appeal were in line on this matter. More importantly, I go back to a previous question. Exactly who thought it was a good idea? Because it seems as though they tried to apply for a fishing expedition, basically. One of the things they tried to do, at least at the Court of Appeal level, I think, if not at the law courts, they went for a fishing expedition. They didn't have a defense. They wanted to peek behind the curtain and see what they could find. The court said no. They tried to argue a technicality with regards to who had the debt. Was it the bank? Was it Junior Sammy? The court said Junior Sammy still has the right to go after the debt. All of these things, all of these weak technicalities that the state lost on, it makes me wonder whose bright idea was this to defend this case with regards to not paying Junior Sammy. Let's not forget, after, before, after, with including projects that this government has signed off on, has included Junior Sammy. So you're saying that there was fraud. This entity under the Junior Sammy group participated in something that led to fraud, and the government doesn't want to pay. But yet, Lord's the fact, hey, they helped get NECWAN off the ground. Hey, they were part of, I think it was the highway construction or reconstruction. Among other things, you're saying that a contractor might be involved in a case that includes fraudulent activity, but you're going to continue doing work with said contractor. So, I mean, I'm oversimplifying the case. There's more to it than that. The opposition MP, Dr. Munal Ridal, of course, took this as an opportunity to lambast the government in a way that if you don't read everything or enough, you might think is just him playing politics. And to be honest, I wish he used a different tone. I wish he maybe framed it differently. But at the end of the day, the core of what he said, I can't necessarily disagree with. It seems like a colossal waste of money, defending this thing all the way to the Privy Council, failing, not even having a chance to really get a proper argument out. It seems as though this thing was doomed from the start, and it makes me wonder who gave legal advice, who was the senior counsel that gave legal advice that this was a good idea. And the implication of that is, I mean, I'm generous to assume that a senior counsel gave legal advice on this. It could just be that this was a political decision. Lord only knows why. Or the company itself decided to make this decision, EMBD. There's so many questions here. But as MP Munal Ridal pointed out, how much things could have been done with what is now going to be 8.2 million, and I'm not entirely sure if there's supposed to be interest tacked on top of that. But I will leave that there. Let's take a break. We'll welcome the good lady. Stay tuned.
The season of lights is bright and tasty with Royal Castle's delightful veggie burger made with a healthy and nutritious patty. It's great on its own or in a combo with one side and a 16-ounce drink. So whether it's lunch, dinner or a snack, Royal Castle's veggie burger fits right in with your fasting and festivities. Happy Diwali from Royal Castle.
Lighting up for Diwali just got simple with the easy-to-use Anand brand wax deers. They're scientifically engineered to last longer, burn brighter, and keep on lighting. Anand brand wax deers do not require any prepping or filling and has less spillage and cleanup. These deers are recommended for outdoor use and can withstand light wind and rain. Plus, they're eco-friendly. Redeem your use cases for cash back. So put some green innovation into your Diwali celebrations with Anand brand wax deers.
I had this accident last year, so it is more convenient for me now to move about with the car, so I can move about the lanes properly. Here is the only place I can shop conveniently with my budget. Everything I get it here at a convenient price. I just get specials on butters and whatever, so it will be convenient for me. Their prices is very low compared to other supermarkets. It's a really nice place to shop.
I just love Diwali. I put everything in place so my home is perfect for this season. And thanks to the little store, I get everything in one place. I picked up some Anand and Shankar brand wax diyas, hand-painted clay diyas, my coconut oil, cotton wicks, all my puja items, plus step-by-step guide to Diwali puja and Havan. My home will look and feel like Diwali with pretty hanging decorations, floating lights, rangolis and flowers, all from the little store. I'm all set to welcome Lakshmi Ma and all my guests. I've ordered some delicious fresh mithai in decorated boxes and bags, and got some frozen vegetarian products, spices, all my groceries, and hygienic paper sohari leaves for a delectable Diwali feast. Go to the little store in Curep. They've got additional parking and they're open on Sundays. Check them on Facebook or call 663-4415.
My mom has been shopping here for the last 15 years. So coming here with her, now I have my own family.
The variety of items, cleanliness of the place, the spaciousness.
My favorite section is household.
My husband loves the hardware section and the auto section. My favorite would be stationery.
Price Club is the low price leading supermarket in TNT.
They are the best. I would recommend Price Club to anybody.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust, prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
Come travel with us as we explore Diwali across the globe. Diwali is celebrated in many countries worldwide, but do you know the traditions and practices of each nation? From Guyana to Australia, WESN presents Diwali Passport.
October 9th to October 30th, with replays on October 31st.
It's Diwali Passport, a WESN exclusive.
And we're back here talking about the WESN, the side conversations, always interesting. But we kind of leave that alone because we're welcoming the good lady today, former Minister of Finance, Karen Nisishara, to speak about, I guess, the big political topic that is bubbling under the surface. It hasn't necessarily been all revealed as yet, but the signs are there, and unfortunately, more often than not, when we interpret the signs pessimistically in situations before, we tend to be closer to the truth than we would like to admit, because no one wants to see the negative truth actually be true, but it is what it is. And now the PNM are doing a thing, and to speak about that thing, which is centered around a couple of individual people in the party, we have Karen Nisishara. Morning, Karen.
Good morning, Sean. I'm glad you left out that usual introduction. But it's not about a few people, you know, and I have to start first off by saying that my point of view is not because I have some, it comes really from the fact that I was in the belly of the beast, so to speak. And I was there in a senior position, although Mr. Manning used to continuously see all ministers are equal, but you know, that's not how people saw it. And I worked with him very closely, and I saw what happened in 2010. So coming out of that experience, it has, my lens has been very much impacted by what is going on right now. And so really I told Sean that I didn't come last week because I said I wanted to see what would have happened during the week while I was not here. And I would just say, to start with, one of the things the People's National Movement, and they are the government, so, you know, I have to speak about the government. And it's not about a few people, it's about the democracy of our country. Because when one handpicks or appears to be handpicking persons to be the anointed one, that is not consistent with a democratic republic, but rather a monarchy. And this is what we do not have in this country. And you have to look at the suitability of the person to become the leader of a small nation such as ours, developing and hopefully making our way in the world and becoming a sustainable socio-economic development, prosperous, crime-free, and all the things that all nations aspire to. So it's not a question of who I like or who I don't like. Leave that at home. You could do that at home. You know, you could have favorites at home, and that's not my business. But when it's the people of the country and the interests of the people, then you have to leave that at home and look at what is in the best interest of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And so I say that to say that are we, and this actually was the topic that I had with on another show, and the person was very interestingly made a point. And I initially said, are we at a point of inflection, I mean a point of sort of a crossroads, so to speak, within the PNM social and political construct? Oh, a lot of nice big words. But really what it says, and if you break it down, is are there the rumblings, because there are rumblings going on in the PNM, and it is noteworthy because unlike the opposition that is known for more than rumblings, and they might have earthquakes on the other side, the PNM, since the days of Eric Williams, I did some looking back at the research. One of the things he wanted to instill was party discipline. And for him, party discipline, obviously, which is a good thing, that you keep matters that involve the party issues within the walls of the party and you work out your issues. Because certainly, if you don't do that, one would have to say, are we going to put you in government when you can't even manage your own business without letting it spill out into the public arena? But it has reached a point where it has done that, I believe. And I am saying that not only because of what commentaries that we're getting, but because of my own personal experience. Take it from me, believe me, believe me. I have been on the receiving end. Persons who appear to be above board. No, I have experienced it. I won't call names, not because I can't call names, but then, you know, I'm a lawyer, so it'll be my word against their word. But maybe I have independent verification of what I'm saying. But take it from me, when they talk about political intrigue and using that language, it's not by chance. And so what I'm saying is people have agenda, if you want to be the Latin phrase that of agendas, but they do have it. And you might not know, as I did not know, the extent to which they were persons working behind the scenes, and they were not working in the interest of the country. I can assure you they were the interest of specific persons, and that continues apparently to today. So what made me feel that there are fissures, and I will, as I told Sean too, this is a point of view, but it's a point of view gained from being inside the belly of the beast and experiencing 2010 when I was told to my face from my constituency that they did not want Patrick Manning, that they wanted Dr. Rowley. And let's just say that given the high rating that I had as a member of parliament during that period, for me to, you lose it. But let's say a lot of things were at play. And a lot of people who might be still inside of there may have been part of it. I will just leave it at that. So what are the things that started the ball rolling? That one started, and in fact, the guest I had said, it's good to have party discipline, but has it been reduced to a cult? Because a cult means that you're not thinking. Cult means there's an obedience to the party line, regardless of whether it is right or wrong. And we have seen the consequences of cults on the world stage. Mm-hmm. We have seen, because a majority follows, it almost without thinking, unthinkingly, does not make it right. And when one sees what appears to be, as I didn't use the term, by the way, I thought it was a good term, It's gone from discipline to a cult, that not a dog bark. We are in 2024, going into 2025, I mean, that election period. And what we have to put number one, and I think people have to understand that and understand my perspective, it is not against a party. If you want to bring it down to a party, well, we already lost the game. We already lost. You have to think of what is in the interest of the country, your children, and your grandchildren. You have to think about that. And if you think and put that forth, then you might say to yourself that people who have in history, whether it is the Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King, whether it is the Mahatma Gandhis, whether it is Mandela, people who were paid with their incarceration, some of them, beaten for standing up for what was right against, for the good of the people, then you have to understand nothing is wrong with you standing up against what you know is not right. Because over and over again, I know you have heard it, I hear it too often, and I know a lot of you hear it, and a lot of you may think it. You will say to yourself that you've had 10 years almost of one government which you believed would do something for you, would uplift you and give you opportunities, not handouts, a hand up. That's what you wanted, is a hand up. That's what you wanted. Opportunity and empowerment, which is what, by the way, HOPE stands for. And I told Sean that I'm going to have to talk about HOPE now, because, not today, because staying silent on HOPE is not right for the country. You don't have to, I'm just going to say what HOPE stands for and what HOPE wants to bring to the country. So you have a choice, even though you think you may not have a choice. But that's not what I'm here to speak about. So we don't want a hands down. We don't want to keep us in eternal bondage. Colonialism has died. But you know what? You have a new colonial master. It looks as though we have a puppet master and a puppeteer. That's how it looks. That's what people will say. And people will say the issue of race becomes critical because they introduced it a few years ago about the Prime Minister being too black. But guess he has traded on that blackness, it seems to me, to get the man in the street, the rank and file, to say that's one of we. But he on the golf course, my dear. And he's in the house of the wealthy and the rich, my dear. And those are the persons who have benefited of nearly everything in this country. Whilst he talks, but doesn't walk it. Understand that. Go behind the talk and go to the walk and see what he has done for you. And I don't mean a hand up, which I love to tell you, CPEP and Europe, not a hand up, to help you as they were helped. Because when they started, that handful didn't start with money. That handful didn't start with education. But they got their hands up, however they got it. However they got it. So why did I say that we're reaching a point of inflection? Well, it started, I think, well, I shouldn't say started. One of the clarion calls was by Robert LeHunt, who has been quoted as saying, he had used the term, I wanted to get it, the danger of unwavering loyalty. So he praised the Prime Minister for one man, one vote. But he basically said, as I understood it, this is not about anointing somebody you like. It's not yours. Go home in your house and do that. Go by your wife and your children and do that. Nobody can tell you which favorite child you like, for whatever reason, because they're listening to you, they like you, they're doing what you want. I don't care. This is not yours. This country belongs to us, right? So you cannot assign or appear to be assigning anointing, like if we are not a democratic republic, but a monarchy, to someone you favor. And I'm going to look at what are the key performance indicators. If you're interviewing for a job, he said abysmal failure, except in one area. So that's one of the things. Then you have the language of the speaker. The speaker, no, I'm going to be careful. But I will just say the language the speaker used in upbraiding Minister Young in the House after he was caught on a hot mic, say the nastiest, crassest, most vulgar, and to use a word, misogynistic and homophobic, bordering on criminal, I should use the word, on criminal I always tell you I can't understand me when I'm writing.
That's why I don't write. That's why I type.
Oh Lord,
now.
but I have to. I have to because
Yeah,
some of my shows, I don't have the benefits of being able to put up my screen. But what she said, the language used, reprehensible. I mean, and some people said, oh wow, they admire so much. But she knew to step down when it was ready to put him in the privilege committee. She knew to get Esmond Ford to come in and sit down and do the thing. But what she said to him is what she forgot to say. You read the tea leaves. Read those tea leaves. Take it from me. You can read the tea leaves. Okay? So that, to me, I took it as another condemnation from which I don't think Stuart Young can recover. Because if you remember with Mayor Tim Key, when the Japanese lady was found under a tree in Savannah, when he made comments that made it seem as though she looked fit. He didn't say that, but people took it to mean that. And under pressure, I guess, from the Japanese embassy and also people who came out to the Woodford Street, he had to fire Tim Key. Why did you fire him? Because what he said is equivalent and worse.
And worse.
Definitely worse. And where he said it was not outside by a tree. He said it in the most, or as she herself said, in the most august house of Parliament. That's where he said it. But, and you heard the Prime Minister pull him up for it? I
just want to point out.
Did he pull him up for
what
it?
Mayor Tim Key, maybe what you could say what he said wasn't intentional. There's no room for that in interpreting what Stuart Young, and that's why it's worse to me.
Right.
Stuart Young, what he said was intentional to insult, it wasn't
and
a
it was
joke.
the nasty language, it's the nastiness, the crassness. That is in his mind, a mind verbalizing what he's thinking of you. And you want to be my leader? When you look at the qualities, leadership, I must have trust and confidence. I must have respect. You see Obama? You have respect for that man.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You want a leader that you have respect and regard for? It is half of the population of this country he has insulted. And you know his Prime Minister has I wouldn't want to say encouraged, but has not discouraged that kind of language. With his own language, talk about when he buys a panty, talk about some panty talk for his wife or some foolishness like that. And you have to know how to treat a woman, mow the lawn and all kind of nonsense. And when domestic violence issue came up, he talked about you have to watch what man you put in your bedroom. You hearing that from a Prime Minister? You hearing that from a Prime Minister? You think Obama could ever talk like that? And this is a man, and when he all the way in Samoa celebrating at our, we paid for it, his 75th birthday, in Samoa, right there, nobody said anything good about Jindal. At least I didn't read it. I saw a picture, but I didn't see anything they said about him being so fantastic. What I know, he's under charges in India for bid rigging, and also for offering bribes in order to get the award of a block in India, for which he has been charged, not convicted, but he has been charged. That's what I know about Jindal. And yet you call in the UNC louds, all the way from Samoa, you're sending that message. You know, and that's your anointed one, or so it seems. That's what we're going to get if he comes in, that's what we're going to get more of that. Don't you know that people are tired of it? And if you wonder if they're not tired of it, you are maximum leader because of the Constitution. And you know how you know we're tired of it? When people had to vote for the internal elections, right? And not only, actually the internal election was bad enough.
But
right?
the last national, the voter turnout wasn't that hot either.
It was under 40-something, it was under 50%, the lowest 58.8%. Those three Digger Martin seats, I think Colin Imbert got 43%, and he got 47%. What does that say? The people do not want you. And when you went with the local government, the internal thing for the leadership of the party, you have 130,000 members. You are the Prime Minister. You give 3 days to vote. How many people? You get a handful of people come and vote. Don't you understand the message? They do not want you, but you want us to take your anointed one. Okay, so that's the other thing. Then the speaker's language. Then the language of Stuart Young. I hardly think that amounted to any real apology. It lacked gravitas. it lacked authenticity, and it lacked, well, I have to do it. That's how it came across. That's how it came across. I did not come across as if it was really
in fact,
heartfelt.
Because I think he had 2 apologies, and one of them, the apology was the sense of, well, I'm sorry it was a distraction. Not necessarily, I'm sorry for insulting the people I insulted.
Because that's what he really means. That's what he really means. That's what he really means.
Now, that might have been the public apology outside of Parliament, and I can't remember his phrasing when he was within Parliament. But at that point in time, I kind of gave up on the situation. He's only apologizing because he's forced to.
And guess who forced him to apologize? Say, listen, I want you to be the next Prime Minister, you know. And that ain't going on good, you know. You see what happened with Tim Key. You better go back inside and say something better than that. And you see, I don't know, but my experience within the party is the speaker said as much as she could to sink him without signing privilege because I have a feeling that she couldn't do it. That's my view. And I am entitled to a view.
And I would like to believe former Mayor Tim Key apologized, but it didn't do him any good, apparently.
You know, it didn't have, well, of course, I think the Japanese embassy got involved too. Yeah, you know, so they put pressure on him. But the other thing to know is the issue of the convention and the internal election. So to clarify, even for myself, it was supposed to be held in this month,
yes,
24th of November.
November, yeah.
Yeah, this month.
Yeah, we're not actually in November yet.
We're not in November yet?
No.
That's 2 more days?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I thought I was there already. It feels that way. But
you kind of want this dark patch of TNT's history to move faster.
Okay. No, well, anyway, it's happening soon. It's coming to your neighborhood soon. But the point about it is that Anna Ramdas did an article, and obviously she had gotten inside information on what had happened at the General Council meeting. So, and also there's an article by Martin Daly. Decision to cancel, not to postpone the internal elections and the convention, they said, was ultra-virus the constitution of the party, because that has to be a decision of the General Council, and it was not made by the General Council. So they had to come and ratify it. And as Martin Daly pointed out in his article, ratification is to make lawful what was done without authority. And when it came that, according to her report, there are 140 persons were at that General Council meeting, and only 70-something participated. Do you understand what's going on inside the General Council? Do you understand? So when Foster Cummins, and I should make the point that with the internal election, the position of the leader, chairman, and the General Secretary only come up for re-election in 2026. But nevertheless, they, among others, whoever would have been elected, would form what you call a screening committee. Very important. And so therefore, when we talk about what is going on within the party, that all is well. All is not well within the party. All is well and not within the party. The other thing too is, I don't quite know what Amy Brown, Dr. Amy Brown, the Minister of
Foreign Affairs,
etc., meant. You could take it how you want. Vaulting ambition, hubris, and an aura of entitlement. Who are you talking about? Who he talking about? Who he talking about? You take that and understand he doing some more with the Prime Minister. Who he talking about? He didn't give names. But all I say, you have to not sometimes take things on face value, and he didn't call names, so I don't know. I don't know who he was included in that, or excluded, I don't know. And then you have the UNC clearly seeing there's bloodletting on the people, and they're smelling the blood. They're saying, what? There's some breakdown.
Yeah, no, well, I wanted to get straight to this point, because you pointed out, maybe this is why so many people are going back to the UNC.
There you go.
Opportunity.
Well, you know, I don't like, you see, politics is does really have a morality of its own.
It's true, it's true.
Okay, so, and in fairness, as I have said to members of my own family who voted for NJAC, I said it's a good thing to do that because what NJAC stands for and so on. But it's NJAC in the hours of power. And if you want to change and do good for a country, you can do that when you are in a position to do that. Okay?
To be in power.
Yes, and it's just as simple as that. That is how it is. Having power, you can use power for good. You know, power can be used for good. And there are many who have done that for good. So The UNC, if persons, all of a sudden you see Fuad Khan coming out, you see Vassan Bharat coming out, you see Warner, who may not be able to become a candidate, but nevertheless they know he was seen to be the queen maker of the current opposition leader. And a day in politics is a lifetime, so don't underestimate that the party B might become party A, because at the end of the day, look at the election results. Last election, which we were in the middle of COVID, and when they did a polling, Henry said the #1 concern of the people at the time was COVID, because many people were dying, literally. And economy and crime was second and third, or third and second. The point is, COVID is no longer there. So people are concerned about the economy and crime. That's #1. And one has to understand now that from my perspective, the UNC wants to be back in power. Many of them who have left, I mean, I have private conversations with some of them, and they will say to them, they really don't want to leave the UNC. They may not like what's going on now, but they don't want to leave. So I think this is a sign of things to come. So coming back to the national elections, the PNM one, you need 21 seats to form the majority, all right? So in the last elections, UNC gained a seat, Maruga. So it became 19-22. But at that time, they had Tobago, those 2 seats. So we had the THA elections, and PNM got totally wiped out, 15 out of the 16 seats. So I don't know to what extent the PNM can or cannot rely on support from Tobago. It's happened in the past and indications. So therefore, if they were not to get the support from the PNM that is in Tobago, because what have they done for Tobago? That's another question. But if they don't get the support, the 22 seats become 20 seats. And if the UNC, if they get people who were disenchanted coming back into the fold, it's razor thin. It's razor thin. So this whole idea that it's a given that the PNM will win is not a given anymore. And I mean, I'm not a strategist. I'm not sitting around the table, sitting now and doing the strategy and how we're going and pull this thing back and so on. Of course, the Prime Minister didn't help himself by shouting from Samoa about UNC louts, about Jindal, and giving impression as if they praise Jindal. Nobody praised Jindal. Jindal got a picture with the King Charles III, but he's still facing charges and over a mining block. Same kind of issues that we're dealing with in this country, and you want to praise him. And he's the same Prime Minister that made it very clear that he did not want, I not support him one way or the other. Made it very clear he did not want Gary Griffith to be COP. He could sing it from the rooftops, and it seemed that it did work.
Well, he got rid of Gary, but the replacement, the final substantial replacement. Let's just say, if you're going to make a big deal about getting rid of somebody, you need to replace them with someone that at least the public will kind of maybe sort of halfway.
But that's not what he's thinking, because if you're using that language, you would not put Stuart Young. And let me say why. Because we don't want Stuart Young to say, and anybody to say, oh, you're against Stuart Young. Yes, I don't think he's suitable. You have a lot of swagger. That's what he has. And he does you have a lot of swagger. I give him that. But if I was applying for a job to run this country, to be the CEO, the chairman of the board, I have to have their key. I must have the trust and confidence of the people. I must have a strategic vision. And I'm talking about him in the 2 portfolios here. I'm not going outside of that. But the portfolios are important because of the 2 issues that are concerning the country, which is crime and the economy. And there's no question that we are an energy sector economy. So his part in the development or the growth of the energy sector is important. So let's look at him as when he was the Minister of National Security. I went to the CSO to get the data, so I just went back to 2015. And at that time, for serious crime, it was 11,135. He was Minister of National Security in 2018 and 2019 and part of 2020 when he became Minister of Energy and Energy Matters. It went from 11,135 in 2018 to 13,445, 2019, 13,179, And then, of course, we knew we had the state of emergency and public health, and it went to 10,580, and that's when he went to energy. That's in serious crime. In minor crime, in 2018, 7,515. When he was the Minister of National Security, it went to 9,139. In 2019, 8,189, and then 2020, it went down. We could see it would have been the effect.
Yeah.
Right. And then the total serious offenses, minor crime, the totaled it up. From 2015, it was 30,897. In 2018, it's 42,990. In 2019, it was 39,098. And in 2020, 31,739. When we look at the murder rate, yes, I'm going to say it before you say it. In 2008, it had until recently, the highest murder rate in the country. But let's look at his performance as the Minister of National Security. In 2015, 420, 2017, 495, 2018, 517, 2019, the second highest recorded murder rate in the country as up to recently. Right, well, now, yes, now we is in the 600s, right? But I'm talking about his, at his time. Yes, he is the Minister of National Security. If the numbers were the reverse, he'd be crying about it.
Yes.
You right? He'd be saying what a wonderful minister he was. So if you didn't do well, I have a right to say how you didn't do well. So you are a failure. If I use the data, same thing.
The number is 530 what on 2019?
2019 is 539. Which is the second highest recorded murder up to that time, and then of course we know. But I'm talking about him as Minister of National Security. I look at his record to be my Prime Minister.
This is the prelude.
Right. So he had intervened for the job. So I'm going to look at it and say, let me see what you did as Minister of National Security. And in robbery, it was 2,409 in 2015. By 2018, when he was minister, I don't know exactly what month it was. It was 3,246 in 2019, 3,018, and then in 2020 it went down to 2,000 and something, which was, of course, the COVID period, and then he moved from there to
energy. Affairs,
Okay, so now, in all fairness to the minister, I'm looking at him now as Minister of National Security. Minister of National Security. So let's see how his performance.
You mean Minister of Energy?
Sorry, Minister of Energy. And by the way, remember trust and confidence? Not the FU, well, I'm not dealing with that because he was not the Minister of National Security at that time. But he was the Minister of Energy and Quarrying and Mining. And I'm sure you know the Alan Warner issue, right? When the Judge C. Prasad said there was illegal quarrying and shut it down and gave them their computers and so on, but shut down everything, the machinery and so on. June the 5th, one of his sons, that's Alan Warren, who was alleged, but I think he's accepted, a good friend of the Prime Minister. His son, that is Alan Warren's son, on June the 5th, applied for a license for that same place where they illegally quarried. And where a senior police officer said it's a very bad thing because what they do is they process aggregate. He didn't speak specifically about them, but he says why that is bad. Because he said they process the aggregate and they sell it back to the state. So they deprive us of our own wealth for the country. In 2 weeks' time, guess what? Under his ministry, the Warners got back their license for Waterloo. But of course, the judge did not remove the injunction.
No, because
right?
you can't.
But this is what
you can't post dates.
Right. Yeah, but he thought. But they thought they could. They thought they could. Right? They thought they could. They thought they biggity dance. But that's what I have to say. I mean, what else am I going to say?
Hey, let's not forget what the AG said. Our local judges get it right.
I'm not. I dealing with the Minister of National, Minister of Energy.
No,
okay?
just to point out on that ruling.
Yeah,
obviously,
so I want to deal with the key performance indicators when you want to tell me to put a crown on that man's head, right? So let's look at barrels of oil per day. And I got this, by the way, when I went to the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, you could find hardly any information, you know. And they have something called data. They say they have no data information, but thank God the central bank is able to have gotten into data. Yes, and so it's back in their schedule to their monetary report for this year. And this is what, I went back far, but I'm not going to go back as far as I could. Let's go barrels of oil. 2015, 73,000 barrels. 2024, 42.9 barrels. 2023, 49.6. So you know what happened with barrels of oil under his stewardship. no pun intended. Then we go now to natural gas. Well, we know natural gas is in a dire straits because 4.1 billion cubic feet is what we would need for the LNG and for the downstream industry. It has gone from, in 2019, 3.5, which was not what we would have wanted. 2021, when he would have been minister, 2.57. 2020, when he would have been minister, 2.6. 2023, 2.4. 2024, 2.4. It's gotten the lowest under his stewardship. Petrochemical industries, ammonia prices. I just to say to you, it has collapsed from, let's say, I'm going to use 2019, 5,550 tons, to 2020, that's the data I had, was 3.2 thousand tons.
That's produced.
Yes. Urea, in 2019, 583,000 tons. 2024, 288 tons. Methanol, that didn't do too badly, 5,564 in 19. 2024 still went down, 4,199. And plus they closed down the Atlas and opened up the small one, Titan.
That was
right?
closed.
And then urea, ammonia, and they're not opening it back up, I don't think.
No,
urea,
not the big
ammonia.
one, no.
You know why they're not opening it back? Because the Prime Minister of Finance has said it, and I looked it up too. I said America is one of the largest exporters of LNG in the world, is the largest, surpassing Australia and another UAE country. Largest exporter, as well as natural gas from shale. Okay? Understand that. So many of those companies that have shuttered, another expert said to me, they're not only shuttering, they're leaving, because why are they staying here when we have no natural gas? It's price and production. We have the price of oil, no matter how, of gas, even if they use a weighted average. We know from the mid-year review, he had to come down from $5 to three something because he was looking at a deficit of 9.1 billion rather than the 5.1. So he had to adjust the revenue and he had to adjust the price to bring it down to 7.2. This is, and you remember, our budget is based on energy prices. Melamine, same story, 2.49 thousand in 2018 to 12.3 in 2024. You see a pattern there?
And let's try to point out, some people might want to say, well, you know, we run out of gas, that's not the minister's fault. First of all, if the numbers went up, the government would take credit for it.
That's not the, and that's not even the issue, you know.
But also, and this is not hindsight. Karen pointed this out in the moment when the numbers were dropping, when production numbers of natural gas was dropping, and I read to you the article where it said the government's facilitated Nikon by finding him a source of natural gas supply. Right? Three years ago. Right? That's the Prime Minister lauded that point. So this is the Minister of Energy that to some extent oversaw that process and to some extent signed off on let's go with this. Let's divert some of the gas there. So gas is running out. But they chose where to send.
And where are they now? And where are they now?
Owing $21 million US.
No, they are and they are in receivership.
Exactly.
What you have to understand is, don't get vexed at me. If you were doing good, you would be swinging it to the treetops. If you're doing bad, well, I'm going to say it in every area. By the way, not only that, but in the bid rounds. In the bid round, a disaster in every area. Go to their own website for deep water, shallow water, onshore, every single bid round are these total disasters. I think the deep water is 4 out of 17 were taken up. The shallow, there was a low investor appetite. Onshore, low investor appetite. So they're not even getting people wanting to make investments.
But we spoke about this. If it wasn't for Ukraine, it seemed as though Shell and BP wanted to pull out completely. Until Ukraine
what about
happened.
Perenco? But listen, let me just say to you, I think why they did not pull out too, well, I think so, because I think Shell, and that is one of the things I will give him credit for. I will not take this away from him. So
this is Stuart Young.
Yes, Stuart Young.
One thing.
Yes, one thing. One thing. I would know, and it is a worthy thing to say that he did achieve, which was the unitization of train 2, 3, and 4. Of course, after telling the country train 1 had gas when everybody knew. So, you know, when they look at leadership, what do you want in a leader? I brought it down. They want trust and confidence. Well, I don't know how much of trust and confidence is there and as a thing. But he did get the unitization, and what that really meant, I read an article and it did make sense. We never had a share in chain 2 and 3. We had a share in 4, 11%. But what he did when they unitized or restructured, we now had a share in 2, 3, and 4 of 10%. But it was not just that we had a share in all, but what apparently was said was that the big players would send the LNG product to low price markets, but midstream, it would send it to high price markets. We would not be the wiser because we're not in 2 and 3. We're not in train 2 and 3, and they were making significant profits because we were out of the game. Now that we're in the game, that cannot be done. So I will give him that. But other than giving him that, in every single area of performance, petrochemicals, natural gas, oil, he has been a total failure. And even in the quarrying, he has been a failure. And you know what is the greatest concern I have over him? Is this. You are the Minister of Energy. One of the things you want is, these are the things they want. They want good communication skills, a motivator, honesty and integrity, a decision maker to make the right decision at the right time, vision and purpose, humility and self-control. So those are the qualities according to leadership, political leadership. You say which ones he has or does not have. But you know what the greatest issue I have is that, and I won't call a former Minister of Energy made the point. He said, you know you're not getting the natural gas because even with Dragonfield, which I don't know, I don't want to go back over that again and again. But it's, you know, you're giving the impression that the license is it. You know it's not the license, it's OFAC. And you know if Shana signed off on it. And it's coming to end in October next year. So, oh God, give me a break with that now. And keeping on. And you also know that 45% of the revenues stays in Venezuela. Okay? So, and as an economist said, he says, you might get production, but you will not, but the production will not be what you doing as though you want to get production day one. They have said it's on record. On Dragonfield, they're saying initially it'll be 100 and something million cubic feet, and it will rise to 350. 300 will go to LNG, which is the cocoa, and 50 will go to the petrochemical, which is where the chocolate is, the value added is. And the same thing with the manatee, and he said they would Cocina. So they're staying there because there's money to be had. But the point about it is you have no control over price. What you should be doing, if you have strategic vision, and if you, I don't know if you had it and they're not listening to you, but then says you're really not leadership material, because if your voice can't be heard, then you really, you're not ready to be a leader. What you should be saying is that these signs are there for us to see year in, year out. And the suggestion was made from a former Minister of Energy. What Trinidad and Tobago has is the knowledge, the skill set, the understanding of the energy sector. We have the UTT with all the programs. We have the ministry, the university with all these programs. We are well placed to take the place and become the regional hub for expertise and support systems in the energy sector in the region and beyond, and offer bunkering services. Because face the reality, you don't have control of the price, your production levels are not going to come back, and the economy is highly dependent on energy sector. Now that is a leader with vision. That's a leader with mission. That's a leader that we could trust and have confidence in, which we put it on the table for you to decide that. All the qualities that you want, he does not appear to possess them, and he does not have to like me, and he does not have to not like me. It does not matter to me. What matters to me is if I was interviewing you for that position, you would not get in it because you also have a nasty mouth that says nasty things about women, disgraceful things, that could never ever be a person to lead this country where 50% of the population is female. That's what it says about you. You are unfit. Unfit. And it is ridiculous for the Prime Minister to signal or appear to be signaling that he wants to put a crown on your head as if we're in a monarchy. And by the way, the reason why things are different, and I said it the last time, I'll just repeat it again, if you go to 62(1)(a) and (b), even if they were to win, and you know things are razor thin, even if they were to win, it does not mean that if they were to win, because they did that, by the way, they were doing that to Rowley. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, that when Rowley was going to be the opposition leader, a lot of them who sitting on inside, they're praising him. Mm-hmm. Some of them were there, but a lot of them who were there didn't want him. And they wanted to send a letter to the president to say they did not support him. Mm-hmm. You understand?
Yeah.
So don't tell me they support him, you know. And now that, and I know that is a fact. So now that you're going into a national election where he's 75 years of age and he may have health problems, I do not know, but he has signaled, and I really believe him this time, that he wants to step down. I am telling you, there are people that 30 or 40 years, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I am telling you, what you see playing out slowly but surely, is to make sure when they finish with Stuart Young, you will never want him as your leader. That's what they want to make sure. I don't know if who will become leader, because they might fight among themselves for that. But I will tell you one thing, they're going to make sure. Between the hot mic that said all that nastiness, and then Colin in Booth saying, boy, how you could say that, the mic on. All what the speaker said, all what you're seeing going over on the UNC side, and the closeness of the election, what you saw with the THA elections. Let me just tell you, I'll say this, that even if he comes in there as a leader, if he were to come in there, if enough of them say they don't want him as their leader, Stuart Young, and I sure feel they don't want him, and just the way it's being done, it's so undemocratic anyhow, apart from anything else, right? They write to the president, so he'll still be an MP, but he will not be prime minister, and guess what will happen? You know, when you're no longer prime minister, you're nobody. I already said this to you all already. What happened to Chambers? What happened to Pandy? They run Pandy. They run Mr. Manning. Could you answer? So don't think that that Dr. Rowley's been there over 30 years. Don't understand what it means to be not prime minister and not be able to wield power. And if he leaves and wants to anoint somebody, I do not believe that they are not going to take that. They are not going to take that. So that is my view on it. A day in politics is a lifetime. This is my point of view at this point in time. If I had to give him an interview, he's a failure as a Minister of Energy. He's a failure as a Minister of National Security. There was something else, or the bid, all those bids, the competitive bids, failure. Right? Because if he had done well, he'd be singing to the treetops. And he didn't come with any new plan to how he's going to deal with the fact that we don't have production and we don't have control over price. Where's your strategic vision? Mr. Man, if you want to run the country, you can't be thinking in a narrow way. You have to think of what is in the best interest of the country. And I am not seeing that. I've seen a lot of swagger, and I see a lot of nastiness coming out your mouth. That's what I see.
So here's a question. Now, we should open up the phone lines for the last 10 minutes of the show for what it's worth. You know, I didn't want to cut Karen off on this topic. But I will ask this, though. To what extent do you think he had the capacity to run things? Because a part of me wonders, well, he kind of, one could argue he's just the right-hand man of the Prime Minister, so he'll just do what the Prime Minister wants.
But that's exactly what he did.
So then now the question is,
and what did the Prime Minister do?
Let's just say that is true, and that's why the results are what they are. But then the flip side to that is, if he hasn't shown any independent thought, how is he qualified to lead?
Yeah, but that's what the point was. The point is that the cult of the PNM. And I'm saying, if the Prime Minister is not staying, that what holds back people will not be there in the future. That's what I'm seeing.
We have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You on here? Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Small, and to the Honorable former Finance Minister. And I want to start by offering Shubh Diwali for the whole of the nation.
Yes.
Everybody.
True.
And Sean, I want to big up you all for the program you all had yesterday. I was trying to get in to compliment you all, but I get in today, so better late than never.
Thank you. We didn't take calls yesterday just because of time.
It's okay. But the program was wonderful.
Yeah,
I
we
love
had
it.
to squeeze in one today, especially because we didn't have any call-ins yesterday. But go ahead, caller. You have a further point?
Right. I have a couple of things. And I agree with Karen on the leadership of the current PNM. And I'm hoping that the leader of the PNM, when he goes to the Diwali Nagar today, he goes with a clean hat and I will say a Listerine mouth. I put it in context because as Karen identified, he has been a foul mouth to women, very derogatory. And for a nation, for us to be accepting that from our leader, I don't think as a country we expect people to say we're taking that. But more importantly, let me get to the other critical issue I want to...
we have another caller, quick.
Yeah, the judgment on the EMBDC, that is because a government failed to implement a proper procurement legislation. A proper procurement legislation would have told them how to deal with FedEx contracts, and they tried to mash it up all how, and if they did not learn how to do it, then everything they do afterwards will get them into the problem they have now. Go and have a nice morning.
Thank you, caller. We have a next caller from Maraval waiting. Good morning, caller. You on here? Caller, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Stuart Young. Why Dr. Wally want to send Stuart Young in the Wally Nagar? That boy, I just call him a boy because he is so nasty. You don't have a mother, you don't have a sister. You know, if you could say that about a lady who could be your mother, your grandmother, right? He have no respect in his mouth for nothing and nobody. And I wish all them. What about the older heads in the PNM? Why are they pushing him? What about all Amy Bong and I just never remember that lady named who he sent fighting I don't know where when the lady opposed him when he was going up for election, right? What happened to her? You have so much old heads in the PNM. Why do you want to push him? Because of his foul mouth? He have a mouth like Dr. Rowley? That's the only way. There's the only way I can see that he could be there because he have a foul mouth like Dr. Rowley. And the next thing,
quick.
I don't understand the Ministry of Education. Today is a festival for Diwali for children, right? You want the children to come in uniform, right? And then to change over there. You know how much things these children have to put on? It's in school. Why the children should go and expose themselves to everybody else? It has some of the children. They're so shy. They don't want to do that. The parents distress the children to go to school. You want these children now to take and expose themselves in front of everybody, change off the uniform in front of everybody. How could they do that? Some of the children know how to tie their own clothes, and these is piece of the clothes that you have to tie on you, otherwise it will fall on you, and you get exposed and embarrassed. So I don't understand why this lady did that. I have to say it. You have something against Indian people. I'm sorry, but I have to say it because you'll never see she doing that to anybody else. Thank you.
Caller, thank you for that. We have another call on the line. Good morning, caller. You on there?
Hi.
Morning, caller.
Morning, Karen. Morning, Sean. I am an ardent listener and a follower and supporter of WSN and also this program. I'm feeling very much offended this morning, Sean, with the PNM bashing. That is my perception of you taking an entire show to bash the PNM this morning. I've never heard you bash any other political party. There are instances and times when you would raise an issue and talk about something, but not an entire program shown to, and I'm saying my perception,
yeah. No, I understand.
My perception, I am an integral part of the People's National Movement, and as my good friend and former MP says, my Amplia, I was her marketing manager at the time she was in Dabadeen. And I am saying is my perceptions there's PNM bashing, and I sit down here all morning, and as I would normally do on mornings, to spend my hour with you. But it's hurting me. Although what you might be saying at times might be factual, I know Karen is not going to put herself on the program. But let me allow other people to come in now. But I just had to let you know that I'm offended. I am offended this morning.
Caller, I understand.
By taking an entire program to bash the PNM, and other callers is taking it as a cue to come in and continue the bashing. So wonderful program as usual. Again, I'm disappointed this morning, but I continue to be a follower of WESN and also your program.
Caller, I understand where you're coming from, and I understand, and I'm not faulting you for it, but I do have a reason why it ended up the way it did, and I'll try and explain that. But we have St. James on the line. Good morning, caller. You on the air? Caller, good morning.
Yes, good morning. I just want to move away from the politics a minute.
Sure.
And ask Karen if she could, explain this to me. You have this circus in Trinidad and Tobago, and they are drawing crowds, and people paying $50.
I think a Mexican circus, yeah.
Right? Now, this Forex thing, how are they, and I can't understand how they getting out this Forex money. They're not even with $50. I don't know if Karen can explain how they get around.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is a key issue going on right now. I think Ramsaran has also raised that issue, as well as a number of persons who have raised the issue that they need to have a policy and needs to be transparent, and so that people know how it is allocated, the basis of the allocation, and I think they don't want to do that. That's my answer to your question. They do not want to do that.
To show us behind the curtain. We have a Rima on the line. Last caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Caller, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Morning, morning.
I just want to say something. David Rudder has a song that they call A Chant of a Madman. And I watched this morning, and it has been reversed to A Chant of a Madwoman. I have never seen so bitter being spewed on this show, especially from Miss Tishara, who trying to come across as if she worked perfectly during her tenure as a minister and doing other things. It's fading, as the previous caller said, and I thought, what is going on with the show this morning? Is it a bashing? I'm not a PNM supporter, but it was terrible.
Okay.
Have a good one.
All right, so I'll answer that. The thing about it is, we can only speak about what happens. Now, the opposition does not set policy, all they do is talk. So, at times, we have even had to limit the amount of times we have criticized the opposition's inability to be effective, because it's the same point over and over again. But when they do things that we could point to, that we could say, this was bad, and here's why it's bad, I'll still bring it up, Keita will still bring it up, etc., etc. But on a practical level, with the economy, with energy, etc., it's all, for the most part, down to the government. We are long past the time where we could blame the opposition for the state of things. In most things, maybe the ongoing growth of crime, they still had a part in that, as well as their predecessors, the administrations before that. You could even say Patrick Manning's time. And we pointed it out this year, a couple months ago, where some key mistakes might have been made by that administration with regards to community leaders, etc., etc. But the point is, right now, and maybe this is where the opposition got a little bit smarter, let's get ourselves out of the papers, because the PNM are making unforced errors. And at the end of the day, we have to point it out. The Nikwan situation was not egregious because it failed. It failed because it took away gas from ongoing operations that were shutting down, right? The Minister of Energy being now potentially put in a position to be the next leader of the party, the reason why it's an issue, it's how it's being done. And how it's being done leads to a lot of questions. And unfortunately, life is funny. If we don't question it up front, there are certain things, it's kind of hard to hit that reverse switch and roll back the issue before things fell apart, right? I'm sure the government would love to roll back certain things that didn't work out. And it's not necessarily always their fault. But if that's their track record, at some point we have to ask, well, maybe we should try somebody else. I have already said that the government has done a lot of things to make them unpopular. They're already a two-term incumbent. But they went beyond what I think would be the norm for an incumbent to be unpopular. So much so that our weak opposition, which we on this show, we have pointed out how much we dislike the fact that the opposition party cannot hold the government accountable because their performance is so bad. Even with that, we have reached the point where I don't think any political analyst would even be remotely comfortable to say they don't have a chance to win the next election. When, if this was a normal situation, arguably, they shouldn't. If the incumbent had an average performance, that's subjective. I'll leave you to interpret that.
And I just have to say, in response to what was said, I do understand why persons may feel how they may feel, but you have to understand, I didn't create the issue. The issue was created. And the issue was created from all of the discussions in the newspapers, on television. And when I come on this show for the time that I am on this show, I try to make sure that I speak on something that is topical and is something that affects us. Now, if it is that what I've said, it comes from a lens of having been, as one of the persons said, having been in government, and therefore I hope to use that experience to bring it to the table. But you know, it is what it is, and you know, if you're offended by what I have said, you know, this issue is not of my making. This is an issue that is being played out, and if you want us to be silent, and if you want us not to comment on it, and if you don't want me to comment on it, given the position that I held, and looking at the data, which I am very data-driven, well then, okay, that is your right to see that, and that's all that I did. And I stick to my position, and I think that's what, I stick to my position, that's what I would say.
People could say Karen is biased because of her history. I was never in politics. I never lost anything politically. No, I'm just saying, right? I agree what Karen said. When I brought up the EMBD case this morning, it wasn't that the government lost. It's that they lost because they had no defense. They had no defense at the Court of Appeal level, and they took that. Somebody had the bright idea, you know what, let's continue to sink good money after bad and take it to the Privy Council level. And the Privy Council basically said, yeah, the Court of Appeal had it right. When you had no defense, yeah, when they said you had no defense, yeah, they were right. You have no defense, right? This is an open and shut matter. We don't, there's much to see here with the ruling. So, and this is not the first time. At the end of the day, what the partnership did was what the partnership did, right? In fact, this is not no tit for tat. I am not part of the UNC, right?
Neither am I, may I say.
Right, but the UNC has not lost the country by their direct actions. That Jindal thing was not losing the country money. That was just saying the basics. If you're going to cry over the basics, the most obvious low-hanging fruit, well, then I don't know what to tell you. That's why I say Jindal Naveen has very thin skin, apparently. If I don't believe he's that thin skin, I just believe he's playing it up for the press so that he could bow out. That's his exit plan, right? I doubt he actually wanted to be involved, but that's my opinion. My point is, I am looking at areas where money is being lost due to excess, potentially due to political favoritism. What am I supposed to say?
And then I have to have a topic, that people have to understand. I can't come here. I'm not like Sean, who would talk about what's in the matters of the day. I have to have a topic, and that is the topic. I didn't create the topic. It is the topic,
that's
and
the
it's
main political, economic
topic. It is the topic, and I spoke and that's my point of view, and I respect people varying or having a differing point of view, but I think I supported it with data.
The thing is, I don't fault supporters of PNM for being upset.
Yes, well,
I don't. I honestly don't. I understand that when I make a strict or a harsh or a strong, or I give a strong opinion, there are not going to be a lot of people who like it. And I can't help the news for being what it is.
Yes.
I appreciate the support. I appreciate even the feedback, because we should be checked on these things. And the irony is, and one of the reasons why I'm not mad about it, and I'm not mad at you, and I just think this is just the way how it goes. Again, we've reached the point where I am slowly but surely, I'm getting less and less able to look at the PNM as even a viable alternative to the UNC. I don't have a defense to give to the public.
Maybe they
if
could
I
give
wanted
a
to say
defense.
that the UNC is unelectable,
yeah,
still vote for the PNM if we just have those two choices. I don't have any room to maneuver here, because they leave me with no room.
And I wasn't even talking about the PNM, I was talking about the choice of person to lead the PNM. That's what I was dealing
now
with.
We have to wrap, and I'll end with this. If you don't like what I have to say, don't shoot the messenger.
True.
Shoot the source of the message. I didn't make this up.
Yeah.
I didn't ask them to do these things. I didn't call for it. I didn't say Nikwan was the best thing, and then we changed our tune at the 11th hour in hindsight, right?
Or the refinery issue.
And look, I'll say that I did change my mind on that, at least to some extent. But most of the time, there's always a reason behind it. It's always based on what the government says, what the government does, why they do what they do, or not giving us any information. And if you don't like the topics that we have, because there is no other party to speak about today, so what am I supposed to do? Not talk? Am I supposed to try to artificially create some fairness, to dig up dirt? And to be honest, a very slight amount of that does happen just for the sake of appearing balanced.
I did say about unitization of LNG.
A very slight amount of trying to talk about the other side does happen just for the sake of appearing balanced. But at some point, it's actually unethical to force the veneer of balance for the sake of it. And we just can't manufacture something out of nothing. So if you don't like what's in the papers, and if you don't like, because I suspect the media is going to get harder and harder on the PNM, because they are the incumbents, and it's their failures, not the UNC's. If you don't like it, then maybe instead of trying to tell the media, what are you talking about it for, you need to go back to the party and say, can we please do a little bit better? Because I'll be honest, it's not that hard to do a little bit better for either party, because the performance levels ain't that great. But the difference is the PNM are the incumbents, so their failures have a little bit more of an impact on the country than what the UNC is doing. Not to say that the opposition failure doesn't impact the country either, because they're letting there's no competition, so we are not seeing the best out of our parties. We're seeing complacency, and it leads to the worst out of our parties. Will we see the best out of other parties besides the PNM and the UNC? Well, from my perspective, I will wait and see on that. Thank you to the callers, though. I do appreciate the passion. Thank you to the good lady herself for joining me. This is Talking About the WESN Content Capital. Make today a good day, as my co-host, Mr. Shaw, will always say. Remember your allegiance to each other and to the Republic. And this is why I say, get involved, because to some extent, we need things to change. If you think the PNM is the instrument of that change, get involved with the PNM more. Don't just sit back and hope that the commentary is going to be in their favor to a point. I hope everyone has a safe Diwali.
And Shubh Diwali, which is my feeling, not to have said that at the very beginning, and I apologize genuinely. I'm not going to make excuses myself. I did not do it, and I apologize to the Hindu community for my failure to do so.
Folks, we will see you on Friday. Shubh Diwali, enjoy it. Bye-bye.
WESN.
When it comes to pera and laddu, I just use Chattox, laddu and pera mithai mix. It's a combination of traditional ingredients in one pack. I don't spend all that time preparing different ingredients like ma. 3/4 of the work is done. So now I can make fresh, delicious pera and laddu in about 15 minutes with the convenience of Chattox, laddu and pera